What's up guys, it's Caitlin B and today I'm doing a fall reading Rex video slash what's on my fall TBR. So I'm channeling all of that cozy fall energy because I have so many cozy fall reads but also a lot of thrillers. I like to read so many dark twisty thrillers during this time, get myself in that spooky season mood. So if you like this video and want me to do like a holiday Rex video coming up next month, then let me know below. I'm gonna first start off with the books that I've already read. These are just fall books that are either really cozy, fun reads, like comfort books for me, and then also some good thriller Rex that I've read recently. And then I'm gonna go into my fall TBR. Obviously, you know I had to recommend Verity by Colleen Hoover. I recommend this book to everybody. Anyone who says they hate reading, want to get into reading, need a good thriller, need something just get out of a reading slump, anything that somebody needs a book rec for. I always recommend Verity. Now, I actually read this in 2020. This was a book that got me into reading. I just think it's a perfect fall book. This book is dark and a little thugged up. I mean, as are most thrillers, but definitely look up trigger warnings before you decide to read this. And for anyone who gets a little scared at night, maybe don't want to read this at night because it is a little terrifying. Because I talk about this book all the time, like too much. I'm not going to dive into this. This is actually the new edition that she just launched and it has an exclusive bonus chapter. I think it's like 40 pages. I just got this, you guys, so I haven't even read the bonus chapter yet. I need to do it. I'm going to film a reading vlog of me like reacting to this and reading this for the first time on my TikTok. So if you want to go follow me on TikTok at Caitlin B, I pretty much solely post book content over there. The next book is one that I read on my Kindle last October and I absolutely loved it, and it's called the X Hex. This was described by the author Aaron Sterling as hocus pocus, but they say less. It's definitely more like Hocus Pocus meets Halloween Town vibes. Most iconic film ever. Also, what have I been doing? I haven't watched the Halloween Town series yet this month. I need to get my priorities straight. The tagline for this book is never mix vodka and witchcraft. It's basically about a girl, like a young witch. She put a hex on her ex. She wasn't really like well versed in her witchcraft, so like things go wrong. Fast forward many years later and the guy comes back and they go on a bunch of adventures just trying to get rid of this curse that she put on him a long time ago. So I don't know if I would call this enemies to lovers because technically they were lover like exes, but you know, there's obviously some angst because he has a curse on him, so not the best reintroduction. There is spice in this book. I can't remember if it's fade to black or not, but I just remember having such a fun time with this book because it is just like a fun rom-com that is very Halloween vibes, something lighthearted and fun, and I think I rated this 4 stars. If you're in the mood for a mystery thriller, definitely more on the mystery suspense side than thriller, but I still really like this book. This was called The Sundown Motel by Simone St. James. I read this a year or two ago from my book club. I can't remember, but it's been a minute. I'm not someone who really loves to dabble in the paranormal realm. I think it's like, oh, I don't know, it's just not really for me, but this one does paranormal very well. So if you're like me, a little hesitant on like the ghost kind of aspect, I still think you're really gonna like this book. So we get dual timelines, both take place at the Sundown Motel. It's this really creepy, like isolated setting, which I really like. But back in 1982, Vivian is the night clerk of this creepy motel and she goes missing. Then in the present chapters, we get her niece Carly and she decides to go back to the Sundown Motel and kind of put herself in Vivian's shoes. So she decides to be the night clerk of this motel and just try to uncover what actually happened to her missing aunt. So you get creepy guests, you get the ghost element, the isolated setting, everything just screams spooky season to me and Halloween vibes. So again, I think this is a really good book to read specifically in October, but I mean, you can obviously read this any time of the year. Totally different vibes. If you are not into thrillers and you want something just a nice, this is definitely a palate cleanser, okay? Do I really recommend this book? Basically, if you want if you want a book that is pure filth, very short, no plot, fall filth, shall I say, then definitely check out Anyone and You by Jack Whitney. Let me just throw up the author's note on this book because I was cackling. I even made a TikTok about this because I thought this was the funniest author's note ever. It's actually a novella. I'm pretty sure it was only 88 pages, so it was super, super quick. This is on Kindle Unlimited, so I would not recommend buying it because there is no plot. You know, go to the park, bring a pumpkin spice latte, and enjoy. Loved all the fall visuals of this fall festival. It just made me like, I talk about Colleen Hoover books all the time, but obviously I had to recommend November 9th specifically. All of Colleen's books are like comfort books to me just because I read them at a time where I was just getting into reading and it really made me fall in love with reading. But November 9th, obviously, you gotta read in November. But if you haven't heard of this book, every chapter takes place at a different November 9th over the span of 5 years because Ben and Fallon meet, they hit it off, have this instant connection, but she's moving the next day to New York. So they decide to make this plan where they're gonna meet up every single November 9th at the exact same spot in LA, and they have no other contact with each other throughout the year. So they have no idea what each other's up to. They can't stalk each other on social media, which I'm like, how are you doing this? Because this suspense will be killing me. What I like about this book is it obviously has romance. It's like Colleen Hoover, but Colleen Hoover to me isn't just romance because there's so much more to her stories. There's always way deeper backstories and huge plot twists. And there's also a mystery element in this book as well. So I thought this one just had it all for me. It just kept me so hooked the entire time because there was a huge plot twist every single chapter, aka every single November 9th. If you want a book to keep you on your toes and just the perfect November November read. And also there is a little like Easter egg in November 9th if you've read her other book, Ugly Love, which you do not have to read before November 9th by any means because they're both standalones. But I will say the characters from Ugly Love do show up in November 9th, and there's like a connection between the characters that you might pick up on if you have read Ugly Love. I just love when authors do that. I'm like, I also think you absolutely need to read a Riley Sager book during the fall time because all of his books are, I'm pretty sure they all take place on the East Coast. Honestly, they all just give me such fall vibes, even though there is one, The Last Time I Lied was one that took place at a summer camp. Aside from that, they all give me fall vibes. If you want more of like a slasher horror vibes, his goriest book is definitely Final Girls, and I love that one so much. It's so good. All of his books are thrillers, by the way. But if you're not as into like the horror slasher film kind of vibes, Lock Every Door is by far my favorite of his books. I was just so shook by this book. There is so many twists in this. I never knew where it was going, and I was just like, my jaw was on the floor. I read this in a couple sittings. I just could not believe what I was reading, and it definitely kept me up at night because I read it at night and I had the weirdest, craziest dreams after this. So I will just say that. So highly recommend Lock Every Door, but honestly, like all of his books are pretty dang good. And the Book of Cold Cases, this is the newest book by Simone St. James, again, the same author who wrote the Sundown Motel. We're actually reading this for October for my book club. A lot of people fly through this book. You can definitely join us for October if you want to discuss, because we always discuss the following month, like a couple weeks into November. I will link my book club down below. Otherwise, you can totally join us for November or December moving forward. It's always in my description. But this book is about a girl named Shay, and she is a true crime blogger kind of on the side. And one day she runs into this girl, Beth, who she recognizes. She was actually accused of the lady killer murders back in 1970s. So she can't pass this up. And she's like, can I interview you? And Beth decides to give her a chance, and she's never actually agreed to interviews before. Creepy ass shit starts happening at her mansion, and Shay is like, what have I gotten myself into? As she's interviewing Beth and getting to know her more, she's just trying to figure out, like, is she actually a psycho murderer or is she innocent? And what is happening at her house? Because like, no, I would be out of there so fast with things that happen in this house. If I were to witness, I'd have been like, goodbye. I really enjoyed this book. And again, if you read The Sundown Motel and liked it, I think you're also gonna really like this book as well. I have so many more fall book recs, but I would literally be here all day. So if you want to check out more, I have a Kindle Unlimited guide. If you do have Kindle, or if you don't, I highly recommend my guide because I have so many more book recs in there, and I have them listed by genre. So my fall book recs are mostly in the mystery thriller section, but I also, if you're like in the mood for something else and want to switch it up, I have a spicy section, romance, rom-com, authors I love, my top 10. Someone asked me this recently. You can actually download the guide directly to your Kindle if you want the PDF there. So you can have the guide with all of the book recs on your Kindle, which makes it super easy because then you can just search the book rec directly. Just wanted to throw that out there. If you need book recs, I got you. And my Kindle guide will be linked in the description box below as well. Now let's get into my fall TBR because these are the books that I am most excited to read for fall. I've been saving some of these. So where do I begin? The first book on my fall TBR is The Housemaid by Freda Mcfadden. And this is an author that I've included quite a few of her books in my Kindle Unlimited guide as well because she's always a top rated author on there and everyone always recommends her thrillers. I'm so excited to dive into this because when I showed this on my fall TBR TikTok, everyone was like, this book is so good. It's a psychological thriller, which I absolutely love, and I haven't read one in quite a long time, but it seems like this follows a housemaid to a wealthy family, and it seems like she's into the husband or thinks he's handsome. It seems like she's envious of Nina, who is his wife, and thinks that she treats him badly and also doesn't treat her the best. Working here is my last chance to start fresh. I can pretend to be whoever I like, but I'll soon learn that the Winchester secrets are far more dangerous than my own. But I reassure myself, the Winchesters don't know who I really am, and they don't know what I'm capable of. Ooh, you know what? This is kind of giving me vibes of The Last Mrs. Parrish. I'm sure it's totally different, but just based on the back of this, doesn't that kind of give you Daphne vibes? That book was also crazy, and definitely recommend that book as well. This series has been on my TBR for so long, and for some reason, I don't know why I keep putting this off, but I think in my mind, I was like, no, this will be like a good end of the year fall read. I don't know. This is the Simple Wild series. Is that what the series is called? I actually do not know. But the first book is called The Simple Wild by K.A. Tucker. This book is about a city girl who goes to rural Alaska to like reconnect with her estranged father. She ends up meeting one of her dad's employees who is a pilot, and he is very unimpressed with her. Thinks she is like not cut out for rural Alaska at all and just needs to go back to the city. It's giving Grumpy. It's giving Brendan Taggart from It Happened One Summer. I don't think it's a rom-com by any means, but that's just what it's giving me, like the same energy. I think I need to read this finally. So hopefully if I do like this book, then I will continue reading the series. I am so notoriously bad for finishing series. Like I will read almost every single book in the series except for the last one. I'm like, what is wrong with me? Why do I do this to myself? Is it self-sabotage? What does this say about me? The next book on my fall TBR is The Kiss Curse, which is the sequel to the X Hex, which I recommended. I'm so excited because this just came out and I just flew through the first one. Like I said, this one actually follows the cousin of the main character in the first book. So this one follows Gwen and Wells Penhollow, I think. But this is another steamy enemies to lovers book. And I just can't wait. I need need to read this like ASAP before Halloween. I just love these books because it gives me like Disney Channel original movie vibes, especially because when I'm reading so many thrillers and mystery and like dark books, I love a good palate cleanser like this. Even though it's still in the spooky season Halloween vibes, it's definitely so much more lighthearted. I just want to laugh, you know? I have heard so many good things on Book Talk about this book. This is Flawless by Elsie Silver, and this is also on Kindle Unlimited, so if you have that, definitely check it out. But a lot of people who've read this said it's like a comfort, cozy fall read, and it's a small town romance, so I love that trope so much. I feel like this would be such a good book to like throw in between my thrillers and give me like a nice little break. This one's about a bull rider and his agent who he was assigned to because he had like some scandal with one of his sponsorships, so she's like coming in to kind of diffuse the situation. But he hates the feeling of having like a babysitter, so there is kind of that enemies to lovers vibe, and forced proximity apparently is really spicy. And I can't say I've ever read or been interested in a cowboy romance. That's not usually like my kind of vibe. Listen, I will give it a go, and I feel like what better time to dive into a small town romance. The second book in the series just came out like a couple days ago, so I think I absolutely need to read that. So many girls in my book club have long recommended this series, especially this first book, and this is A Good Girl's Guide to Murder. I don't know why I've been putting this off for so long, but it kind of just sounded so similar to a book that we read for my book club like a year ago, and that was One of Us Is Lying. Definitely the same energy, but I feel like people like this series a lot more. But I think this is like a teenage high school detective novel. Pretty sure it's about a classmate who got murdered and they're trying to solve it and figure out what actually happened. The murder wasn't as it seems, but hey, I love a murder mystery, so like sign me up. Speaking of murder mysteries, I actually got sent this book a long time ago, but I actually have seen a lot of good reviews on this one. This was The Maid by Nita Prose, a clue-like locked room mystery. A dead body is one mess she can't clean up on her own. About a hotel maid discovers a dead body and she has to untangle all of the clues to figure out what actually happened to Mr. Black. Ooh, this one also looks really short. It's less than 300 pages. I love a short book. What do we think about a reading vlog of doing some books off my fall TBR, maybe these three, reading them in a week? Thoughts, questions, concerns? I've actually never done a reading vlog. Let me know if you'd be into that. I honestly watch them all the time. I find them so fascinating, and I love discovering new books and like seeing reactions that are spoiler free. Listen, this isn't necessarily a fall book, but I had to throw in It Starts With Us by Colleen Hoover. Publisher's actually sending me a physical copy of this, so I'm like, is it coming today? Is it coming tomorrow? Is it coming next week? I have no idea. But listen, if it comes late, I might have to read on my Kindle because I'm like, I need to read this immediately. For those of you who do not know or care, this is actually the sequel to Colleen's book, It Ends With Us, which is definitely by far her most popular book. It's being turned into a movie. I feel like it's, you know, when Harry Potter released and you stay up all night finishing a book, I think that will be me. I'm so excited. I have no idea what this is gonna be about. I read the exclusive chapter that was sent to me, but aside from that, I'm like, what is gonna happen? What are the plot twists gonna be? I have not been this excited for a book in a very long time, and I just, no words. Another book I have been dying to read is Unmissing by Minka Kent, and this is again another Kindle Unlimited book. This is a twisty thriller about a married couple, Luca and Merritt. Classic perfect couple, perfect life, until one day they get a knock on their door, and it is Lydia, who was actually Luca's previous wife, his first wife, who went missing and was presumed dead for a decade, and then all of a sudden she shows up and he's like, WTF, you know, I thought you were dead. She goes into this elaborate story about how she was kidnapped and escaped, and Merritt is like, everybody has secrets. I like to read a little bit into the summary, but like not too much. I don't want any spoilers. Do not spoil a thriller for me, okay? I will come for you. I just love a twist. Honorable mention to Sign Here by Claudia Lux. And I picked this out because I felt like this was, again, such a fun book for fall, especially Halloween. I'm gonna try my hardest to get to this book before the end of the month, but this book just sounds so unique and funny to me. It's apparently like really dark humor, and it's about a guy who works in hell, literally. He's on the brink of a big promotion and just like fucks with rich people, tries to get them to sell their soul. And this just sounds great. It sounds like a witty, fun read, and it has really good reviews as well when I was looking at it on Goodreads. All right, guys, I am gonna end it here. Those are my fall book recs and also what is on my fall TBR, and I'm so excited to read these. Again, if you want to check out more book content, I post daily on my TikTok. Get ready, get excited for more book content coming to the YouTube. Booktuber B is coming in hot. Let me know what books that you're most excited to read for fall. Let me know what's on your TBR if you were gonna check out any of these books. I hope you have a fabulous day, and I will see you in my next video.